Okay, time for another episode of Survival Stuff with Indiana Jim. I'm James C. Jones. I write my books under the name of James C. Jones, but for our little programs here on YouTube and other things that we're going to put it on and our website at americansurvivor.org, it's going to be Indiana Jim. It's Indiana Jim because Indiana Jones was taken, okay? But I'm Jim Jones from Indiana. So anyhow, I'm the founder of Live Free USA. I'm the author of Advanced Survival, Total Survival, 150 Survival Secrets, the Ultimate Survival book of survival gear, and coming up in 2022, the Prepper's First Aid Handbook or Prepper's First Aid Manual, which is going to come out in early 2022. I'm an EMT, Certified Hazard Control Manager, a whole bunch of other stuff that I've done over the years to learn and study survival and preparedness and emergency skills that we need. I founded Live Free USA. It was officially founded in 1968, but it was around before that. It's a nonprofit tax-deductible corporation. The website is at americansurvivor.org. Our mission is to advocate and educate for individual and family and emergency preparedness and self-reliance. We believe that self-reliant families are the foundation of a free society, free and secure society. Membership online is $20 or $30 for 3 years. And if you join online at the website, you can actually download something over 70 issues of American Survivor, which American Survivor is actually our newsletter, and you can download this and print it off. Or if you want to give us your address, we'll actually snail mail this to you. It comes out every 2 months. It's the oldest surviving, we're good at survival, the oldest surviving preparedness and survival publication in the United States. So hopefully you'll be joining us. We're forming chapters. We're trying to build a new survival center, a training center, and we're raising funds for that. So anyhow, in this episode, in this survival stuff, we're going to talk about survival stuff that goes on in your head. And in many of my books, including my book Total Survival, and also 150 Survival Secrets, I go into more detail about of my 10 principles of survival. So we're going to talk about the first 5 today. To make these short and get them on the internet, we decided to make the first 5, and then we have another program that's already out there for the second 5 principles of survival. These principles are really important. They apply to everything. Basically, I applied them in this book. I actually applied them to first aid and self-defense. I apply them in more detail in the first aid book that's coming out next year. They're also the principles for life. So if you listen to these and we're going along, you're going to hear the first 5, and then we're going to go to the other video and you'll see the second 5 of these 10 principles. You think about them, they apply to your life in general. They apply to emergencies in the outdoors. You're lost in the woods, you get caught in a blizzard, anything like that. The pandemic, declining economy, those what we call chronic disasters that are happening to us all the time and are going to continue to happen to us. These principles apply to everything. So what are the 10 principles? Well, the first one is anticipate, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Second one is be aware. The third one is be there now, in other words, be in the moment. Stay calm and evaluate. We're going to talk about those in more detail. I'll just give you the last 5 quick, and you'll get to see those in the other video. The last 5 are 6. Do the next right thing. In other words, don't do the wrong thing. Take control. Have what you need. Use what you have, and do what is necessary. So those are the last 5. So we'll cover those in another video. But today we're going to talk about the first 5 principles of survival that apply to everything. And the first one is anticipate. You have to anticipate that bad things are going to happen to you, or that, I'm going down the road, driving down the road, and I'm looking at that truck with the steel rolls on it, and I'm anticipating a little bit that maybe those chains aren't going to hold. I anticipated the COVID-19 epidemic or some kind of pandemic years and years ago. Every year in the newsletter, we put the threat matrix for the coming years. And the threat matrix, the top of the threat matrix 2 years ago was a pandemic, okay? Everybody knew it, the scientists knew it, the mathematics were there. It was a definite, it was not a matter of if, but when. So we anticipated it. I anticipated it, at least. So we assume the first thing in being a good survivor is assuming that some bad things can happen, and that some of them can happen to you. Constantly do what-if analysis. You know, what if there's a pandemic? What if I lose my job? What if the chains on that thing break? What if those three guys down the road, I used to live on the south side of Chicago, so what if those three guys down the road are gangbangers and they're going to try to carjack me, or if I'm walking, they're going to try to rough me up or whatever. So I have to, what if? What am I going to do? I have a little plan already. I had a plan for the pandemic. I didn't have to be defiant. I didn't have to be compliant. Defiance and compliance have nothing to do with self-reliance, okay? A lot of people are acting out of one of those other two things. I had a plan. When I first saw that things were going bad in China, and I look at it, I says, you know, I got to get my N95s out. I got to stock up on some things, be ready. My wife and I were wearing N95s before 2020, back in December of 2019, because I anticipated what was coming. If you don't do that, then you won't get from denial, which a lot of people are still in denial, to action, which you have to go through the phases. So you constantly do what-if analysis. I was a safety manager for a big company. We used to sit down at a table and do what-if analysis all day long. You know, what if that valve sticks? What if the guy who knows how to shut that down isn't here today? Okay? What if? What am I going to do about that? If it happens, I will do this. If this happens, I will do this. And you have a plan. If I'm sitting in a restaurant, okay, what if? Okay, what if? If I'm sitting in the restaurant and that guy comes in and he's got a big long coat on and it's a warm day, what if he's got a gun under that coat or a shotgun and he's going to hold this place up? What am I going to do? I have that in my plan. Probably won't happen, but I can go, boom, I can just execute the plan. I don't have to think, oh my God, go into denial, freeze up. Okay. Those who move quickly from denial to action are the ones that survive. Analyze trends and signs. Again, we see the trends in the economy, we see the political trends, the violence, the political disorder, all the kinds of things. Those trends should tell us something. The economic trends, the breakdown of the economy. He who hesitates is often dead, okay? Consider having a mental alert system. For instance, if I'm sitting here right now, I'm in condition white, I'm home, I'm safe, fairly safe anyhow. If I'm out on the street, I'm definitely in condition yellow, I'm a little more alert, things start to get bad. I might go to condition orange, or what. You can have it any way you want. I had a trigger. Emergency plans have triggers. I had triggers for my pandemic plan, and I have triggers for each plan. What if this happens? Then I need to start implementing my plan. The second rule of survival, or principle of survival, is be aware. You need to be aware, okay? The military calls this situation awareness, or OODA, observe, orient, decide, and act. Develop habits of analyzing events around you, sort of overlaps with awareness. Be aware of things going on around you, sort out relevant and useful, accurate information from the crap that's on websites, from the crap that's on Facebook, okay? You've got to sort those out. Don't take any one piece of information and say, oh yeah, that guy told me that this was happening, or I need to do this. Go and find some other information, see if you can verify it. Remember Reagan, trust but verify? That's what you have to do. Truth alone won't make you free or safe. That's true. Knowing the truth won't help at all. Accurate information that's used to improve your life and freedom and security and your future, that will help you stay free, okay? Listen to your instincts. We have these things, the hairs on the back of our neck stand up a little bit, and we're like, something's hinky, if you like that word, hinky. There's something hinky going on, something strange going on here. Don't feel right about this guy, or I don't feel right about this situation or the environment. Those instincts have been bred into us for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. That's why we're survived, and some of our ancestors didn't survive, okay? So we've got those instincts. You need to listen to them, pay attention to them, okay? So be aware. Second one, be here now. That's the third principle of survival. Many disasters and personal accidents result from simply not paying attention. And I was a safety manager. I can't tell you how many times people got hurt and it turned out that they just weren't focused, they weren't paying attention. You must be mentally in the same place you are physically. You can't be with the smartphone in front of your nose or laptop or whatever. You can't be somewhere else. Unless you're like here, I'm in my house, okay, I can be somewhere else. I can watch a movie or, read a book or whatever. I'm somewhere else, kind of, but I'm here. But if I'm on the street, if I'm in my vehicle, I can't be in my vehicle. Thousands and thousands of vehicles who are all weigh tons and they're traveling at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. I can't be somewhere else. Driving is a full-time job. You can't be doing anything else, okay? Walking down the street in most cities is a full-time job just to survive walking down the street for 4 or 5 blocks. Did I mention I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago? So anyhow, point is, you got to be here now. If you're in the woods, okay, you can't be, and you're lost in the woods and you get lost, you can't be somewhere else. You can't daydream. You can't wish for some other better condition or whatever. You got to pay attention to your environment, the animals, was there a snake under that rock that you're just about to step over? Was the weather getting bad? Does it look like it's going to storm? Under high stress situations, the tendency is to go to denial and wishing that things will get better, or daydreaming or hoping, gee, I hope. I'm sure everything will be all right. We heard that with the COVID-19 pandemic. Oh, I'm sure everything will be fine. Some of the politicians told us it'll go away. Basically, the best thing to do is, if your mind is like, oh, everything is going to be fine, that's usually just the opposite, okay? At least in my personal experience, okay? I've been through a lot of interesting situations. Generally, it's better to believe the worst, like they say, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. There's nothing wrong with hoping for the best. But you got to be prepared mentally for the worst. Focus on being here and now and in this situation, not somewhere else. The fourth principle of survival is it's easier said than done, is stay calm. You got to keep your cool. You got to stay calm. Now, if you just followed, you anticipated that it was going to happen, you were aware of your surroundings, you were in the moment and you're at that place, it's going to make it a lot easier to stay calm. I knew this was going to happen. I thought this might happen. Okay, that guy just whipped the gun out from underneath that long jacket, or a steel roll just started to come off that truck. But you know what? I had a little bit of an anticipation. Instead of freaking out, because you have to go through all these mental processes of accepting that it's happening and being aware of what's happening and gathering. No, it's all done. You already did that. So all you got to do now is do what you need to do. So if you anticipated and you plan, and even, just in your mind, your body will, of course, initiate the flight or fight mentality, reactions, and you'll get adrenaline and all that kind of stuff. But you'll be able to manage it, especially if you follow those first three. You have to initially understand what's going to happen in your body and not panic and screw up. If you get through the first few minutes, you can gather your thoughts, okay? And then you can go to the final steps of this, the final steps of the 6 steps. You can go through 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can go through those steps and they'll get you through. But these first ones particularly, anticipate, be aware, be here now, and stay calm, those are the ones that get you in a position to survive. Now the fifth one of our first 5, and like I say, we'll go the other 5 in another episode, is evaluate. You got to start evaluating your situation. Now you've already anticipated it, and maybe you've already evaluated some things. Defense versus offense. I'm getting attacked. Do I defend or should I attack? I know in this book I talked about that usually the bad guys don't expect you to immediately attack them the second they show up. They're depending on you to go along, they don't depend on you having anticipated and being aware and being there now. They anticipate you freezing and being in denial for a couple of minutes. So defense versus offense. Am I going to defend myself? If I act really quickly and I go on the offense, lots of times the bad guys are just freaked out and they move on, okay? If there's a fire, okay, defense versus offense. If you got fire extinguishers and you position them properly, as a fire, you look at the fire and say, yes, I think I could just put this fire out. I'll call the fire department first, but then I can use my fire extinguisher, because if all your stuff burns out, you're in a bad survival situation right there. I talk about people who, they've got a lot of guns but no fire extinguishers. You're a lot more likely to lose all your stuff from a fire than you are from an attack or an assault. So anyhow, am I going to go on the offense? Have I learned how to use a fire extinguisher? All kinds of situations. If I lose my job, am I going to go offense or defense? In other words, am I going to try to protect my job and just hang in there and live off my survival food? Or am I going to go on the offense and learn a new skill or expand my capabilities? Okay, that's offense. Okay, you can't panic at every side. Now, there was a lot of what we call near-miss incidents with the epidemic. There was the swine flu, bird flu, SARS, all that kind of stuff going on. Those are what we call near-miss incidents. Should have warned you that something eventually was going to happen. When I was in safety, we'd always jump on near misses. Like, I almost got my hand caught in the machine. Okay, well, I'm glad that didn't happen. No. We're going to make sure your hand never gets caught in that machine. Same thing with you. I almost had a fire in my house. Almost something happened. Well, why did this happen? I got to eliminate the possibility that that'll ever turn into a serious situation. I almost got assaulted on the street. I almost had a car accident because I drank a couple too many drinks. Whatever it is, or almost lost my job and I don't have any other skills. That's up to you to make sure that near-miss incident turns into an opportunity to prevent or even get better at survival. But you can't wait too long either. So you can't ignore, signs that bad things are coming. By the way, it's just as likely to have another pandemic next year or the year after as there was 2 years ago. I mean, the fact that we had a pandemic mathematically doesn't make another one any less likely. In fact, it makes it more likely because, one thing, we use up all the resources. Secondly, the fact that we had one only proved that we can have a worse one. I'm sure the terrorists out there right now cooking up stuff for us. Okay, so anyhow, you can't wait too long to act. Triage your risk. What's the risks, of doing this versus the risk of doing that versus the risk of doing that? We do, as an EMT, we do triage where we look at, some of these things I'm just going to have to give up on. I don't think we're going to manage to save that person, or in your case, I don't think we're going to manage to, stay at this location or keep this job. So I'm going to put that off and move on to another plan. Prioritize your actions. What am I going to do first, second, third, and fourth? We covered it a little more in the final 5 principles of survival. Evacuate versus shelter is a really good one. I think a lot of people, survivalists, if you will, and I think of myself as a self-reliance practitioner and advocate. Okay, but nevertheless, you could be. I tell people I'm a survivalist, and I've never had any problems. Actually, they come out of the woodwork. Yeah, mine too. I got a pack. You'd be surprised. I think about 50% of the population, at least, are closet survivalists. And there's no reason to be in the closet because it's mainstream now, okay? But anyhow, travel versus waiting for help. If you're lost in the woods, usually it's better to hang in there and stay, but under some conditions it's better to try to get out. I cover that under a whole different program. Evacuation versus shelter. A lot of people had the whole thing on evacuating. They had their pack, they had their plans, maybe they had their group evacuation plan, all this kind of stuff. But they weren't as well positioned for a long-term semi-isolation thing that we had in the COVID-19. So you've got to be ready for all kinds of options. The last thing you really want to do is take off on your pack and be, out there where the disease is, where the crazies are, where the violence is, where the bad weather is, all those things. That's a last resort. You should have that. You should have that survival pack. By the way, I never do survival packs because everybody else does them, but I do cover it in my in my book from Skyhorse Publishing. Also you can get it from Amazon. Ultimate Book of Survival Gear. I go over every item of gear, and I then bring it into the packs and the different kind of packs that you would have. I also covered a lot of times different elements of it in the American Survivor newsletter and Live Free's website at americansurvivor.org. But anyhow, that's an important, your plan should cover that. With this, we're staying home. If this happens, we got to be ready to go. And if this happens, we're going to evacuate, and I've got a plan. By the way, I'll keep my survival packs all in tote bins, plastic tote bins. They're in the basement, but we had some flooding years and years ago. I was able to grab those tote bins and bring them upstairs and actually load them in the vehicle. It was that close to having to leave the house. But I had them all organized. And my boots were in there. My weapons were in there. Everything I needed was in one tote bin, including my pack, and then my wife had one. And we were ready to go. We didn't have to rummage around the house looking for stuff. Even if we just take off right now, okay, I got my boots, and the clothes that I need, and sometimes you update the pack for winter versus summer conditions. So anyhow, those are the first 5 principles of survival. As I said, the second 5 is do the right thing, take control, have what you need, use what you have, and including improvising, and do what is necessary. And we're going to talk about that in a future presentation. So meanwhile, this is Indiana Jim for Life and Freedom. Have a great one and stay safe.